Assalamualaikum.
Wa rahmatullah.
There's a girl in my college who's studying law from India, and I promised to ask this question, which is there any particular reason in Islam, Islamic theology, why women shouldn't become lawyers or judges? I mean, she's studying law, so which is why she wants to know.
Only Maulana Maududi thinks so. No other Muslim scholars believe that people should not become lawyers.
Sorry?
I say this is the brainchild of Maulana Maududi, that the Muslims should not become lawyers. It is contradictory to Islam. It is wrong.
No. Perhaps I didn't say correctly. Women in particular.
It's the same, one and the same thing. I'm talking of man as such.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm not making a distinction between male and female. When I say a man, I mean it's the whole mankind, human beings. Any human being can adopt any profession unless it is specifically prohibited in the Holy Quran. So it is not prohibited in the Holy Quran. Maulana Maududi is the only gentleman who believes that this profession is prohibited to all human beings, be they males or females. But this is why I mentioned him. There is no other scholar to my knowledge who declares this profession to be illegal for anyone. So women folk are a part of human beings. Why not they?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Talking about creation of man, we say in Surah Bakr, first ruku.
Sorry, which surah?
Surah Bakr.
Surah Baqarah.
First ruku.
Yes.
When God was about to create man, you see, it's mentioned that the angel told him that man will create mischief and so on and so forth.
Create disorder, yes, and bloodshed and so on.
Bloodshed. And then in the second verse, it's mentioned that God said that you don't know what I know,
yes.
And that's why I'm going to create man. And then later on, he created man and taught him his names and gave him some knowledge, and then brought him back in front of the angels and asked him to recite.
Yes, and he confessed his ignorance. The angels confessed their ignorance. Yes.
And then men told them to say what it was. Now there's slight confusion in my mind that what does it actually means? Because first of all, angel says that they don't know anything, and then they told that man is going to.
First of all, angels say what?
Angel says that man is going to create
disturbance and disorder, yes,
and slaughters in the land, see. And then in the second verse, God mentioned that you have no knowledge. The only knowledge you have is which I have given you, you see. But now looking back, you see, it comes to mind, you see, that what they said, you see, at that time seems to be, that's what actually happened, you see. So where did they get their knowledge, you see, through which they imply
this? As far as I understand your question, if I am right, you let me know, otherwise
yes.
You'll have to repeat what you want to say. What I have understood is this, that in the first instance, the angels declare a positive opinion about the future of mankind.
Yes.
And in the second instance, when they are proved wrong in some judgment or ignorant regarding certain sphere of knowledge, they claim that their knowledge pertains only to whatever was revealed to them by God and nothing more.
Yes.
Now, going back to the first expression, if they were wrong there, their opinion was based on whatever was told to them by God. How could they be wrong? Is that what you want to find out?
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes.
Please sit down. Yes. In the second instance, the angels were taught humility, and after they were taught, then they made this statement, not before. Before that, they thought they knew better. But when Allah proved to them that your knowledge is limited only to whatever Allah tells you, so don't go beyond your scope, then they realized and then they expressed this. In the first instance, they made a positive statement about the future of mankind and said that the bloodshed will follow. That again was not wrong totally. That was correct. But what was wrong was their inference about the responsibility of that bloodshed. They were taught by Allah the laws of nature and things enough so that they could control the universe and run it according to Allah's wish. All the laws of nature are not working automatically. There are life forces behind them, conscious forces, which are termed angels according to the Holy Quran and other books. These angels are the forces responsible for running the entire huge machinery of creation. So they knew something of it. Basing their judgment on that, they could foresee into the future that if man is created with a free will, to do this or do that, having been evolved from the beastly things, he would prefer maybe to shed blood and would not accept the yoke of order easily. They were quite correct in that surmise. Where they were wrong was this, that they threw the responsibility of that bloodshed unwittingly upon the Khalifa which Allah had in mind. Allah was not discussing the creation of mankind as such. Allah was discussing the creation of Khalifa. And they thought he would be just one of men. So whatever men do, their wrong would be attributed to Khalifa, he would be responsible. So Allah made it clear, you're wrong there. Although he would be one of men, but he will not move against Allah's wishes, with the result that if there is bloodshed, he will not be responsible, but the forces opposing him, hostile to him, will be responsible for that bloodshed. This was Allah's verdict, which was unknown to the angels, but the basic knowledge was there and they were correct in that basic knowledge. Their inference was wrong, of course. Now this story is unfolded every time a prophet of God is sent to mankind. He is one of the men, of course, but the rest of the men are not Khalifa. He is deputizing God, so he becomes a Khalifa in the first sense, not in the sense applicable to Khulafai Anbiya, but to Anbiya themselves I'm talking that. So when he deputizes God, there is always disorder and bloodshed caused by those forces who want to suppress this message of peace and love. So when you apply it to the history of mankind, you can easily, clearly see that never once was the prophet of God at fault, or never once did he intend to create disorder. In fact, he came when disorder had been already created. Zahar al-fasadu fil barri wal bahr, when that was the situation, when everything had gone wrong, when the bloodshed was just a common practice,